Anoka man received the highest military award for his bravery during World War II. Joe Mason has his amazing life story in this week's So Minnesota.
On this day, an icy Rum River moves slowly through downtown Anoka. Along the banks stands a statue of a man everyone can look up to after he put down his life to save others.
Did something incredibly brave, incredibly heroic.
Steve Florman with the Anoka County Historical Society knows the amazing life story of Richard Rick Sorensen.
Saved the lives of a dozen men or more.
A Minnesotan who left his Anoka home to fight for his country and came back a hero.
Freedom isn't free, and there's always something that can and should be done to protect it.
The day after Pearl Harbor, 17-year-old Sorensen tried to sign up for the service.
He fills out the paperwork, and the recruiters say, well, you can't do this without your parents' permission. And he brings it back, and his parents are like, no way, you're only 17, you're not going.
The next year, after graduating from Anoka High School, Sorensen joined the Marines and was sent to fight in the Marshall Islands.
It's just an amazing story.
On the night of February 1st, 1944, the 19-year-old Sorensen threw himself on an exploding Japanese grenade to save the lives of his fellow Marines.
There's 14 or 15 men in there, and a grenade rolls into the hole. And as Rick said, I was the closest one, so I jumped on it.
Sorensen was severely wounded.
It left a large number of little pieces of metal inside Rick, mostly in his abdomen and his groin and his leg. It certainly was enough to drive a lot of pieces of metal into his body, some of which he carried with him for the rest of his life.
He was evacuated to Hawaii, where Sorensen underwent 6 surgeries in 9 months. Of the several military members during the war who jumped on a grenade, very few survived.
I believe the number is 4 who survived the experience, and Rick is one of them, so he certainly beat the odds there.
For his heroic actions, Sorensen was given the Medal of Honor, the highest military award.
He was also then surprised that the Marine Corps was making a big deal of him afterwards. He certainly became something of a celebrity.
Sorensen was used in advertisements to help sell war bonds. A parade in his hometown of Anoka was held in his honor. A city park is named after him, and a statue was placed along the river.
Sorensen's wife says her husband never talked much about the war. Most who were given the Medal of Honor didn't want to talk about it.
So it wasn't something that was planned. It just happened, and I could have avoided it. But we got very close to the fellows, and a lot of comradeship there.
Sorensen died in 2004 at the age of 80. But the memory of his heroic actions live on.
There's a beautiful picture of the old band shell in downtown Anoka. We have some things by which we can remember the sacrifices they made and the things that they did. And one of those ways is every time a young person walks into Rick Sorensen Park and says, well, who was Rick Sorensen? Hopefully, there will be some way for us to answer that question.
Like a river, time flows by. We should all stop for a moment to look up and remember those brave souls who gave us our freedom. In Anoka, Joe Mason, 5 Eyewitness News.